Welcome to the LDS Man's Heart by Forged and Anchored. My name is Cortland Watson. I am one of the hosts and one of the contributors to the LDS Man's Heart. We welcome you and hope that as you participate and engage and comment and like, subscribe, all of that, that you'll be able to understand that the intent of this podcast is to be able to connect. We want men to have a space where they can have or engage in genuine conversations. It's not just about kind of the podcast or getting listened to, but having conversations that sometimes we don't get to have. We do tailor our message to LDS men. That's because all three of us are LDS. We use references to LDS scripture, but we want everyone to participate. We want all denominations, or if you're not even someone that's practicing faith, we hope that you'll come and join us and engage, comment. The last thing that we have to say just before we get started, that this is the LDS Man's Heart, a podcast. Three men that are LDS with totally different backgrounds and stories coming together to be able to talk about things that are important. We don't speak for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We are not sponsored by them. We're just three LDS men coming together, having genuine conversations, telling our stories, and talking about the things that matter. We want you to understand that if you are numb, excited about life, whatever it may be, wherever you are, that you can come and engage in this genuine conversation with us. So without further ado, welcome to the LDS Man's Heart by Forged and Anchored. All right, everybody. Well, welcome back. We're excited to have you. We got Jevonne, Allen, and myself here, Cortland. We are just kind of going through everything.
Yeah, man.
So
We're going to open up a heart. See if it's beating. Does your heart beat when we open it, Jevonne?
Does Jevonne bleed red?
I think it beats for Cortland.
Hey. So we're in the middle of our series, just kind of opening up our hearts so that way we can develop a relationship and really understand that this is a brotherhood and not just per face, right? This is like, we're really going to get into it. We want people to understand that we're going to lead out, that we're going to tell our stories, kind of open our hearts up a little bit and kind of speak to it.
Yeah, kind of let you inside the minds of our world, what we've had to.
That's scary.
Because
Let you in your mind.
So Jevonne,
Disclaimer
let's get into it, Jevonne. I'm going to start here, okay?
Yeah.
At what point in your life did you start to really, like, looking back, right? So retrospectively, looking back at your life, when did you start noticing things going wrong in your life? Things not going well for you?
For me, I think I probably could notice it. I mean, going as far as back as when I could first start remembering things, 6 years old.
And what happened? What started? What was the thing that started going wrong?
Living in foster care, being sexually molested. That's when it because in that moment as a kid, you don't understand the things that are happening to you. You don't understand why they're happening. You don't even know if they're okay. You just don't know. And especially if you don't have people around you to tell you what's happening is wrong. And you don't talk about it, because how I grew up is you don't talk about things. You just don't. Because people, they don't like you complaining. People think that you're a liar. That's how the people saw me, as a liar. They didn't believe me. Not to mention, even if I thought people believed me, I didn't want to say anything, because why would they believe me?
Yeah.
So
not only did you have to experience this terribleness, but then it was also nobody believed you.
Yeah. And there was no one person based on the people I was around that I could have told, where it would have. When you're a child that young, you don't, whereas you're supposed to feel protected by adults, you don't. So you don't know who you can trust. Yeah. And you don't know if you tell someone what's going on, if you're going to get in more trouble. So you just don't say anything. Even though other people in the household know what's going on, you're not allowed to talk about it too much or anything.
It seems like the worst kind of betrayal, the people that you're supposed to trust the most, the adults in your life are the ones that betray that trust.
Yeah. But the adults in my life at that time didn't really like me. I mean, I knew that based on the type of punishments I would get, the type of beatings I would get. Having to sit outside. We talking about if you know the East Coast, it's humidity everywhere. And so these summers sitting outside where there's mosquitoes and you're in there like sitting in this swamp area and bugs are eating you up and you having to sit out on the grass and ants eating you up and you got to be out there in that sun all day as a kid. It's something that sticks with you for the rest of your life. Like I can literally see that image like I'm looking at this book right now. Yeah. I can remember that, which is crazy because for the longest time before I got through everything, and now that I'm on the other side, I couldn't see those things clear because it was a block. I've learned how to block things out, but I can pull them back just like that, like a flip of a light switch. If I want to think about it, I'll think about it. If I don't, turn it off.
Yeah. Get past it.
Yeah. My wife could never understand how you just let things go. Because I've developed that. I've developed that habit based on all the things that have happened to me. You got to move. You got to move forward. Even though it's there, you got to move.
Yeah. A little defense mechanism. If you let it stew, then you ain't going to survive. You ain't going to make it the next day.
Yep. And everything in my life was survival mode. From the sexual abuse to the physical abuse to the mental abuse to the verbal abuse, to all the pain I've had to endure. Not knowing how I was going to get my next meals, not knowing how I was going to lay down and go to sleep, not having friends or family members who loved me or cared enough to protect me. So everything was survival mode.
So I
wanted to ask this question just real quick before you jump in.
Yeah.
You mentioned you mentioned foster care and that terrible things happen in foster care.
Right.
And we talked about like not being protected by the people who should protect us.
Mm-hmm.
At what point, like how old were you when this happened and that your parents kind of, I don't know, they weren't available?
Mm-hmm.
Like how old were you when your parents stepped away from the picture?
4.
You were 4.
Yeah.
So you're 4
My
years
last
old.
memory of my parents was Christmas on Strawberry Street in Richmond, Virginia. And we was upstairs and we had a white Christmas tree with the blue bulbs and it was snowy outside. I remember my wife had like with those, I mean, not my wife, I said my wife. My sister had like those Easy Bake. And we went out there and got some snow and made, some stuff and it was good. But I also remember getting a beating for something I did. And I had to go outside and get a switch, pick out my own switch and boop. And if it wasn't good enough,
find the tree to pick your poison.
If it wasn't good enough, going out there and find another one. So, but that's like, I was 4.
Okay. So then that comes in, Alan, you're going to ask
that was the same. That was the same question. What were the events that put you into this world of foster care? And
I don't even know what happened with my mom and dad. Apparently they just couldn't agree on who me and my sister was going to stay with, my dad or my mom. And to be honest, my dad's sister, my aunt, wanted us, but they didn't want her to have us, which I didn't understand that. And so, of course, in the state of Virginia, if you can't figure it out and the judge got to intervene, it's not going to be good. So, y'all don't want to do them? Bad. Let's go ahead and put them in the system. Because obviously, y'all don't care enough. And what I didn't know that I know now today, my mom, she, for whatever reason, and I think mental issues had always been going on with my mom. I didn't really see them clearly until, once I became an adult and understood things in the last few years. She didn't want me and my sister. So she had kids, but she didn't want us. And I remember my aunt telling me that my aunt, my dad, and my cousin told me that my mom didn't want me. I didn't believe them until I heard it from my mom.
How old were you when you heard it from your mom?
Sometime here in my 40s. Yeah.
So help me understand that. So when I was talking in the last episode, I was talking about kind of my story and kind of everything that I was going through. Yeah. And then you jumped in and you were talking about that too, where it's like the search for love, wanting somebody to love you. Yeah. That was kind of the hope that, hey, mom loves me. Even though people told me that she didn't. Yeah. So you clung on to it or what?
That wasn't even a hope.
Okay.
For me, I didn't have any hope. There was no hope. I didn't even becoming an adult, there was no hope. There was no hope because I did not believe that I deserved anything good, but I also didn't believe anything good would ever happen to me. Again, the way that all of the things I had to deal with, I felt like that's what God wanted me to deal with. And that's why I didn't love God. That's why I didn't want to be in church, where people would always come at me with situations with God or have me go to church. Now, I would go to church for, the excitement, fun, and games like that. But when it came down to getting into scriptures and reading, I'm like, bro, please. I got people that I know that I'm laughing and kumbaya with dying in the hood, and I'm stepping over their bodies. Why do I believe there's a God when you letting people that seem cool die or catch stray bullets for nothing? And then all the stuff that's going on with me. So why believe in God? Yeah. For what reason? Was nothing I felt like he was doing in that moment to help me. Everything I was dealing with. Nothing. It wasn't even like I had a hatred for God, but I had a hatred for this world. I didn't even like being black. I felt like being black was a curse. I would see all of my white friends that I had, they had good lives. They had their mom and dad. So that was my vision of, I wish I could be white. Why wasn't I born white? Yeah. Why'd I have to be born black into poverty and this pit of hell, of darkness, of, drugs, pimping, gambling, all different types of language and stuff like that. And, food stamps, government assistance, social service, in and out of courts, in and out of, jail cells or going to get people from jail and stuff like that was my world. So there was no way I would ever imagine that there was a world outside of that
could have been better.
Right. I didn't see it. I did not see it for a long time. And even with all of the trauma, when I became an adult, I still had problems. Everything I touched, anything that I wanted to dive into to do, I could do it perfectly. But at some point I would mess it up because somebody would say something that I didn't like or do something that I didn't like. And this rage would come out of me. All of the pain and hurt.
Just blow up.
Yeah. I remember one of my bosses, he was like, he stopped me from hitting this dude over the head. From this dude did something to me, and I don't even remember what he did. But next thing I know, I blacked out, and hear my boss taking this golf club out of my hand. And I'm like, what? You know, that's how my life has been. I would get so mad that I would black out, and a lot of stuff I couldn't even remember or tell you about that people would tell me. And I'm like, what? Me? No, I'm not this sweet old guy over here who stayed to himself. They like, bro, no, you become the Incredible Hulk when you're mad.
Mhm.
You don't see yourself. We see you, you know, and people are scared of you. And they don't know where it's come, because when you're nice, you're nice. But when you're mad, everyone knows it. Everyone feels it. I've even had another boss tell me that, Jevonne, when you walk in the room, like when you're happy, everybody feels it. Like, yeah, you know, because we don't know what Jevonne coming through the door, you know. But when you come through that door and you're quiet, everybody like, ooh, don't say nothing to Jevonne. Don't speak to him unless he speaks first, because you don't know what you're going to get. And which they were right, because usually if you did say something to me and I'm quiet, I'm in a bad mood. And I ain't care about the bosses. I ain't care about who was around. Even though I was a hard worker, I got away with a lot of stuff because I was a hard worker on basically every job. So things that I said, or me cussing bosses out, and I mean head bosses, people couldn't do what I did. They tried to, they fired. Well, how come he? Because I have a different relationship. What I didn't realize that I see nowadays is that God had been intervening throughout all of it. And I say that because whereas I would cuss a boss out, I should have been fired. But it wouldn't happen. Somehow, some way, God, that person that was dealing with me, they looked at me like, here it is this kid that's broken. And what can I do to help him? They didn't see me as this, oh, this kid is bad and let me throw him away. He's broken. When I talk to him, I hear his pain. I see him break down and cry. And I'm talking about, I'm emotional. You know, I'm not even as emotional as I was. Well, I take that back. Like, because if my wife sees it, she's gonna be like, "Oh, really? You're really I don't even do that." But when I get angry, I get upset to the point that I start crying.
Yeah.
You know, I'm talking about it because it's so much pain behind it. Whereas now I'm so free. You know, now I'm sensitive to. You know, I'm real sensitive to a point that, like, my wife could say something, and I'm like, "Babe, what? You hurt my feelings with the old me." The old me would be like, "What you say?" You know, but now it's like, "Oh my gosh, like you said that too harsh." I'm like, what, really?
Watch your
Like,
tone.
what? Yeah. That's exactly how, when I came out of everything, I'm like, "Babe, can your tone, that way you talk," you know. And of course, you know, when a woman is going through menopause, and, you know, my wife also has RA, rheumatoid arthritis, she's constantly in pain. So it's not that she means to be that way. It's just
hurting.
She's in pain.
right, you know. So, but it took me a while to adjust to that.
Yeah,
you know?
figure it
now
out.
it's like, you know.
So I have a
Yeah, are you gonna hit that question that you had?
no. I do want to hit that question, but
Yeah.
I had a couple other questions.
Go for it.
Oh.
No, go for
So
it.
you said something that's interesting, and I'm glad that you said it. It's great to look back. Hindsight really is 20/20. You start to see things you didn't see before.
Yeah.
And although there was a lot of betrayal early in your life, looking back, you can see people that had your back. And in a sense, in some ways, God had your back.
Yeah.
So with that kind of context,
Well, that's the way I like to look at it.
yeah,
You know.
yeah, I think it's a great way.
Yeah.
I think that's the proper way to look at it. At what point? Because all of us are on a journey. It wasn't just a flip of the switch. Okay, one day I'm living this life, the next I'm good.
Yeah.
At what point, though, do you feel like you were put on a path that would take you to where you are today? And that doesn't mean you're totally good. Just when did you get on the path?
Correction, I am totally good.
No,
no, I got you.
that doesn't mean you weren't totally
No.
good.
I got you.
Alan's just dogging on you.
Nah, it's all good. I think for me, the biggest thing that through everything I've had to deal with, when I started cheating on my wife, that having to go through that, and in that moment, even though I had all these guys around me who was blowing me up like, yo, man, you the dude and you got this and blah, blah, blah. You know, they would like brag on me cheating because in their eyes, things that I was doing, they hadn't seen other men do that are out there cheating and stuff like that. So to them, it was like, it's almost like they idolized me to a point. And of course, me, I'm
Like
not.
that macho that we talked about earlier.
But
That's acceptance, right?
But at the same time, I wasn't looking for acceptance. Because in those moments when things were happening, like a friend of mine, as he's sitting there like, yo, when you make this movie, I want to be in it. I'm also telling him on this in the same breath, dude, this ain't what you want. You think that this world over here for me and me cheating on my wife is good, but it's not.
So if you weren't looking for acceptance, what were you looking for? What were you feeling?
I wasn't feeling anything. To be honest, I was numb because that me cheating on my wife it came from onset depression. So when my depression hit, I kind of started relapsing back to my protection mechanism, the old me, how I grew up as a child, things I learned in the streets, things I seen, you know, other men around me, including my dad and them having all these women. All of that is what I went back to. It was all a protection mechanism to protect me because when the depression got in, I felt like my wife, she was too good for me. Like, I don't deserve her. I deserve one of these hood chicks. Nothing against hood chicks. You know, I love y'all. You know, you're good, just good women in the hood. Let's not get it twisted. I don't want no problems, all right? But I felt like she was too smart for me, too intelligent, too above. You know, I'm a dude from the streets. I don't deserve no smart, intelligent, beautiful woman, got class and stuff and educated, this, that, and that. I deserve one of these chicks, you know, like a baby mama type, you know, situation. That's who I was, who ain't trying to go to college, who ain't do nothing but graduate high school and that's it. You know, who.
We're okay with where they are.
Yeah.
Don't drive.
And didn't want for anything else. You know, and even to the point that my parents felt like, why are you with her? You don't need to be with her. We want you with this other girl. And this other girl won't about nothing. You know, but all of that stuff in that moment with the onset of depression, I didn't deserve everything that was going on good for me with my wife. And so, you know, I got into a few relationships, including my wife. And, you know, what I was doing was trying to, it's almost like I ended up kind of being Captain Save 'em. I was looking for women who were a little bit less than me. So how can I help them?
So you're up here reaching down.
Yeah. To helping
the poor people.
Right.
Well,
instead of helping but there are also women who wasn't pushing me to be better or telling me that, you know, this is not who you should be. This is not where you should be. Or they wasn't really like inspired to help me to become better or be better. You know, I was looking for less than settling for whatever.
So I've got a question for you then. Why?
Is this the question?
No.
He's going to get to the question.
I want to know a little bit about why you feel like your wife took a chance on you. Like, how did that happen? If you saw
stay in the marriage?
Yeah, because in most relationships, in my experience, we usually end up.
Well, and even starting it too.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Starting your relationship with your wife.
Mm-hmm.
How in most relationships, in my experience, I've only had one, of course.
Well,
you know,
yeah,
I got married, and that's the end.
The first time
that is a good thing, brother. That is a very good thing.
The first time that Alan saw a woman, he
that was
was
it.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Actually,
He opened his eyes.
that's not the story.
Yeah,
but anyway, you tend to meet people at your level,
mm-hmm.
And that's when you gravitate to the level that you're at. Sounds like your wife saw something in you. It doesn't mean you were less than her or a different level, but you didn't think you were at her level. So it's a
And
little,
people around you didn't think that.
yeah,
as well.
Yeah.
and
after
so
we got married, now before I
So-
didn't think that. I wasn't even thinking about
it's it's kind of strange that you guys got together.
Yeah.
In that case. So how did that happen, and what do you feel like she saw in you?
Well, let's see. We met at the bank. I won't say what bank because I don't want to put that out there. But it was so crazy because even in the beginning when we kind of like started really liking each other, and we became friends first because when I met her, she was going through a divorce,
Okay.
with her ex, and I was just a listening ear. And in that moment, I really wasn't dating anybody because I kind of wanted to stop messing with all these girls who were just breaking my heart. I wanted to find somebody. And that what they say is usually when you stop looking for somebody, you find
That
somebody.
happens. Yeah.
So,
That's what you're talking about earlier today.
Yeah.
You
so
stop looking, you find it.
we became really good friends, really tight. I never tried to get with her. Never. I didn't even look at her.
But why?
There was no particular reason why. She just wasn't on my radar.
Interesting.
Yeah. She wasn't on my
It
radar.
just seems to me that
Yeah.
that your relationship from the beginning was different than any other girl that you had
Yeah.
met and
Yeah.
created a relationship
She
with.
she wasn't on my radar until we truly like really started working together, and even then when we started working together, because she was a loan closer, I was part of the what do we call ourselves, the shipping and receiving team. I was the head person of shipping shipping files out to California and to Florida. And so those particular files that she and all the other closers had, I had to get them to ship them out once everything was closed and stuff. So, our friendship was just so good. She could talk to me. I could talk to, she was the first person that I could actually just tell anything to. No hesitation. She didn't judge me. She didn't look at me in any type of way. And now mind you, what I didn't know was in that time, there were women in the bank telling her a pass about me.
Beware
Oh,
of
don't mess with
Jevonne.
him. Yeah,
Yeah.
beware of Jevonne because he done been with this chick.
He knows
He
knows all those R&B songs.
Yeah, yeah. And so she wasn't, she wasn't because she was getting to know who I was. So regardless of what they say, and she wasn't interested in me anyway, in that moment and stuff. But little by little, a friend of ours kind of could see that, oh, they starting to like feel each other. Like, she would come over there, she would have this smile. And I don't know what it was, but one day I was like, God dang, who is this? Like, what? And like, bro, you've been working her for a minute. I'm like, for real? That ain't the same chick, But anyway, she, we just became really good friends, and one thing led to another where we just started like liking each other. And we were talking one day and I still wasn't trying to date her. And in that moment, I kind of wanted to ask her out. And of course, I was at my desk, she was at her desk, and we was laughing and giggling and all that stuff. And she kind of knew in that moment I wanted to ask her out. And so before I even said anything, because I was scared to say it on the phone, she was like, no, you're not going to ask me out. It was almost like she knew. And I didn't even told anybody, but she knew that I was going to ask her out. She's like, look, I know you about to ask me out, but you ain't going to do this over the phone. You're going to come to me like a man and ask me for my phone number and everything. I'm like, what the heck? Like, this shit all in my playbook, bro. Because I was talking about to ask on the phone because I was shy, a little bit shy too. So I went over to her desk. What I didn't know is in that moment is like she had already written down her home and cell phone number before I even got this, before she even asked me the question. Crazy. And right after that, she came over to my desk after I got everything. I was all happy and, hyped up and stuff. And she was like, look, let me tell you something. We're going to go out on this date. If it don't work, we're going to remain friends. I'm looking at her like, again, how does it like, cause I wasn't telling her everything. But I know me, if the date don't work out, we won't be cool no more. Well, I walk in this bank the next day and act like I don't even know you. That's who I was. Shut down.
Yeah.
And she told me in that moment, she's like, look, she was like, I just want you to know we're going to go out on a date. And if it don't go good, we're still going to be friends. And I'm looking at her like, how does she know that I'm like that? She was like, I know. I have this feeling. I just know. But the date went well.
Clearly.
Perfect. I mean, perfect date. And I was such a gentleman. I had cornrows and everything. Showed up at her door with my hair cut. Because she said she would never date a guy with cornrows. When I say thug, I was the definition of a thug. I would walk in the bank with my hair out in the fro, with a black fist pick, pants sagging down, baggy clothes, chain all the way down, money, wads of cash in my pocket. That's who I was. And she would never date a guy like that. But somehow, some way, I smoothed it over. But she saw something in me. From day one, she saw something in me. Something I had always heard from a lot of different people that I met growing up along the way was, it's something about you. And I kept hearing that phrase like, what do you mean it's something about me? Well, tell me what it is. You know, if it's something about me so special, then why do people be cool with me? And then when something goes wrong, they done with me and I don't hear from them no more. So it can't be whatever y'all seeing special is not
Can't
special.
be that special.
Yeah, that's how I felt. So
people leaving.
you know, but yeah, that's
Okay.
story of me and the missus, So, and I think truly from that day, she said in that moment, she had been praying to God for the man to give her everything. There were specific things that she wanted, and I had everything in that moment.
And she's the one that introduced you to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, right?
Her and my mother-in-law. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, because they first asked me about it, and I didn't care that she was LDS. I didn't think about that, like whatever. Okay, I didn't even know what LDS was, Well, it wasn't LDS, then it was like Mormon Church. I'm like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Even though people were saying bad things about him, it's whatever. I don't care. Like I'm not dating, the people or the name.
The church.
I'm dating this woman. You can say what you want to say, So, but ultimately, because of that, and because of my wife seeing who I was, and this before the depression kicked in, because
Jeez.
bless you.
Excuse me.
The first few years of our marriage was almost like a fairy tale out of a movie. Beautiful. I showed her how to have more confidence in standing up for herself and not being a people pleaser. And feeling like you got to divulge everything because she was running to her family and telling them, like, when I say we balanced each other out, we did. Whereas she was very sensitive and telling all her business and stuff, I was more like, nah, you don't need to know my business. So a part of me showed her how to be stronger on that level. And then in return, what she showed me was, you don't have to be in a box.
Yeah.
You can step outside. There's so many things in this world to explore. Not just only her whole family. Her mom, her two sisters, love them to death. Even though me and one of the sisters don't speak right now because of the whole infidelity, which I understand. I completely understand. But my mother-in-law and my other sister, the other sisters, love me to death. And they're so proud of me for the man that I became. And for people to see, especially my wife, to see where I was in the beginning, where I was this really good guy, to when the depression kicked in and I became this horrible guy, to God telling her, if you stay with him, I will make it 10 times better. To her seeing me come out of it and fulfilling exactly what he told her. It's been truly amazing. And for me to get to my wife, I would do everything over again, because she is actually making me become the best version of myself, and her strength and her being my hero and sticking with me through all of those lonely nights where I wasn't at home, or she didn't know where I was, or I didn't remember where I was, or her crying and all of her tears. and knowing everything I did, for her to still be there with me to listen to the Spirit and listen to Heavenly Father and say, stay, it's just truly blows my mind. Because everybody I know, if you get, in my background, from what I know with Black people, if you cheat, it's a wrap. You either get shot, stabbed, somebody get locked up, or we just done. That's just all I've known, or people sit there and deal with it. Whereas with my wife, she worked on healing herself, getting closer to God, and she prayed. And when I say she prayed, she built a prayer closet. And it's this movie, and she got it from the movie called The War Room. I don't know if y'all have ever heard of it. Where this lady is having some issues, I think, in her relationship or something, but she builds a prayer closet, and she's constantly in the closet praying. She had pictures of us. She had letters. She had all types of stuff in there, and she was in there every day. When I would come home from out of town, doing stupid stuff, and our kids are older and out the house, the only thing that was in the house was Rocco, which was our golden retriever, Egypt, which was our cat, and Cairo, which was my ball python snake. They were the only people in the house. She would be in her prayer closet. I'm like, babe, she in the prayer closet. If it's quiet, I knew where she was. But it's her strength. It was her strength that saved me. It truly was her strength that saved me. But it also helped me to realize I can heal and I can be different. And when we moved, and she listened to the Spirit, then everything was. She moved when Heavenly Father told her to move. Everything she did.
Everything was directed.
Yeah, directed. Yeah.
Well, that was kind of my. I think you're headed in that direction. The next question I had is
this a question?
No.
What's that question? I don't even remember.
I don't remember what it was either. That's what I want to know. That's what I want to know. I want to know the question.
I think I'm getting the answer as I'm listening.
All right. I can't. What you said.
So how did you go from that point to where you are today? Like,
well, let's reframe that.
Yeah. Okay.
Bit. So I just want to make sure that we're clear in the questions, so that everyone can understand, and then we're also getting him in the right spot. So how did you get from?
Well, you were talking all about
the infidelity,
the infidelity, her prayer closet, she believing in you, loving you, but those mistakes that you were still making. How'd you go from?
That's correct.
Okay.
Because see, this is what I tell everybody, even with my marriage mentor. People say they're mistakes. They're not mistakes. They're choices. They're choices because even in that moment when you become an adult, right from wrong.
It's true.
You either choose to do it or you choose not to. Even though that little angel on your shoulder, like, bruh, no. You like, bruh, boop, kick rock. I'm going to do what I want to do, So, and go ahead and finish what you're saying, but they were choices, but they were bad choices.
Okay, so let's frame it as that. I like that. So,
yeah.
All right, you chose hell. So let's.
I pretty much did.
So you have
my version of
these bad choices. Your wife was still sticking with you, believing in you.
Yeah.
So how did you go from those bad choices? And you clarify if you like.
No, I think that you did a good job with it.
To moving to not to necessarily where you are today, but to get over those bad choices and to make things good with your wife. Like, what were the series of events, I guess, and what changed inside of you?
The first event was us moving. God decided in that moment that if you two stayed in Richmond, Virginia,
you got to come to the Holy Land.
Arizona.
It wouldn't work. It wouldn't work at all. This relationship wouldn't work. It's almost like he sensed that there was something about to happen with me, because if the events leading up to us moving that was happening in my life with individual people, not even my wife, was really presenting to be a problem where my anger was coming out to a point that I kind of either feel two things happening. I was either going to die or I was going to be locked up for the rest of my life.
Hmm.
You know, and so even in that moment, I had a choice. And I remember screaming and crying to God, like loud in the rain. Lord, why? What the F? Blah, blah, blah. Why you doing? I mean, like, this was just before we moved. And I told my wife this not too long ago. And she was like, for real? I'm like, yeah. And that was like kind of the decision, like, if your wife leave, you need to go. But I didn't understand what was happening, because I didn't know that was Heavenly Father speaking to me in that moment. Like, if she leaves, you need to go. You cannot stay here. You can't. You need to get away from everybody, your family, all of the guys you call your friends, everything. And in mind you, I'm terrified and scared because I've never left Virginia. Like, moving. I've left Virginia to go on trips, but we talk about moving.
Far too.
Yeah, with no family, no friends, and having to do this one-on-one with your wife, and with the first child, the oldest of my two babies, the first child that I brought to my wife
And this
for
is
me cheating. This is not even my wife's child. This is a child I had outside of my marriage, and forced her on my wife because I wasn't in the right state of mind, and the biological mom, because she was on drugs, she wasn't in the right state of mind. But this is the only person that I trusted. And I didn't want my daughter to grow up in foster care and go through what I went through. So it was like the combination of my wife and my daughter that things started setting off, because it's like, Jevonne, you got to get right for this little girl.
Mm.
You got to get right for your wife. If you don't do nothing else in your life, you got to work. But I wasn't willing to accept that. I didn't want that, because I just didn't feel like I was capable of doing it. And so once my wife packed up, and she said, because she didn't even know, she wasn't convinced that I was going to leave with her until we got in the car and left. Even in that same day, she was not convinced that I was going to leave, but, left, got to AZ. I brought the issues here to AZ. I brought the biological mom out here to Arizona. What my wife found out later that she didn't know in that moment was I was trying to handle things on my own, trying to let the biological mom know that I don't want to do this anymore, and trying to get out of it. I had already been trying to do that before I left Richmond, but this person presented so many dangerous ways.
so I'm not understanding that the right way. So up to this point, you're trying to get out of this relationship with
The
the biological mom,
right.
and now your wife is like, oh, he's trying to do this all by himself.
No, she didn't think that. She wasn't, that was never in her thought. That was my process. I was trying to do it by myself.
Okay.
You'll hear how I'm leading up to that.
Okay.
And so I had her out here, lied to my wife, still lying, still, being stupid, and all these, and God just presenting all these things to me. Like, you need to leave this alone. I moved you out here. You brought her out here. Now you bringing all of this drama here. Like, boy, what do I need to do to shake you, to wake you up? And so the final straw was, I left my phone at the house because I had the biological mom in a hotel with my second child that I didn't know for sure that was my second child. And that was how she baited me, because of course I want the best for my kids. And so I'm like, if this is my child, my second child, I want to know, this, that, and the third. And so I brought her out there, to just try to check on things and go different, but also not let her know I don't want this anymore. So I left my phone at the house. My wife was like, she pinged me. If you know anything about an iPhone, when you ping somebody, that sucker is loud. So she pinged me, but didn't know I had hid the phone in the house. And so she heard it and found the phone. It's like, oh. And so my wife is so intelligent. She ended up going back into I had some hidden app and some emails, and she found everything, And that wasn't the first time she had found things, because my biological mom, what I didn't know, was also sending my wife stuff saying, oh, he ain't gonna leave you, this, that, and blah, 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 you know, just torturing my wife with everything. Which also lets me know my wife is so freaking strong, because the stuff that I put her through, a lot of people wouldn't have been able to bear. And she did admit it came close to her having suicidal thoughts at one point, because it was so much. But she loved me so much she could not let go. And God told her not to. And she just refused to do what she wanted to do. So I get back home. She's telling me she found the store. She had all my clothes packed. And she even was online about to get a plane ticket for me and my oldest young one for us to go back. She was like, if you want this relationship and that's the life you want and you don't want to fix things, you can go. She said, I've had enough. She said, I know God told me to stay, but Lord, I can't. I can't at this point. And so in that moment, I started crying. And not because I was busted again. Now, mind you, she had already busted me back in Richmond. Not that I was busted again, is I think because I was trying to get out of everything and couldn't find a way to get out of it. And I was trying to do it on my own. But I went outside. I told her, give me one moment. I was like, I need to just go outside and get myself together. So I went outside and I started walking on the side of the street because we moved here. And it's so crazy how, like I say, everything to me is like little signs from God. I know, Catholic church people, they do the Guadalupe, but that's where we lived, on Guadalupe. So I kind of reference it close to church, but I don't believe in Guadalupe, and stuff like that. But, if you're Spanish culture, that's their thing or whatever. So, and I believe it's a connection with God, but I was like, Lord, I've been doing it my way. I don't know what to do. I don't. It's like, if you help me fix this, I will do it your way. What do I have to lose? And I said that. And I went back in and it's like in that moment, I knew what to say to my wife. I was like, babe, look, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to change in 2 weeks, a month time. Can we just take it one day at a time? And lo and behold, she said yes. Didn't think she was going to say yes. So we started taking it one day at a time. 3 months later, I'm on the balcony and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about all of the crap that I've done that I can remember and thinking about, and how I almost lost my wife and I need to get my life together, because I just felt like there was this pull where if I didn't do something, I was going to go back. I was going to tell my wife I'm done. I was going to just give up myself. And I was used to just quitting anyway, just giving up, like whatever. All right, because I'm used to it anyway. And so, because mind you, even before that, when my depression kicked in, I was self-sabotaging our relationship. So I was trying to force my wife not to be with me. When God's like, no, you need her. She needs you. You need her. But I felt like she was just too good enough. She was too good for me. And so I come off the balcony and I went to my wife. I was like, babe, I think I'm ready to, talk to the bishop and tell him everything. And, go through my repentance process. Blew her mind. Like, and she gave a little smile. She still don't know how serious I am. And so going to the directory, called Bishop up, Bishop LaSure. I'm probably saying his name wrong, but sweet guy, love him to death. And talked to him on the phone, and he came over that day. Talked to me and my wife. We told him everything that was going on. Right after that, he set up where I was coming to his house. He had to go back and, of course, talk to the bishopric and, the process and stake presidents and all that stuff. And so I guess they had to pray on it. And so once they prayed on it, he came back to me and was like, all right, we're going to take you through counseling. These are the things you're going to have to do. Now, me, Before he came back, I'm like, I told him, you know, and again, I'm halfway in, halfway out. I'm like, he about to say, bro, you can't go back to church no more and this and that. And so it was like, oh yeah, I'm waiting. Like, so now she can see, I told you your church ain't such and such, blah, blah, blah. Look what they did. They kicked me out, you know, all these excuses in my head that I thought I was going to use. Lord was like, nah, bro, you ain't getting out that easy. Nope, not going to happen. And so what I thought I was going to receive, I didn't receive. Instead, I was embraced with love, compassion. The bishop talked to me. I talked to the Bishop Brick, talked to the state presidency. And I had to go through my counseling meetings, of course. I was stripped of my Melchizedek priesthood holder. I couldn't partake in sacrament, but I had to go through counseling. And so I was showing up at the bishop house every week, talking, checking in. I had to read the Book of Atonement. I don't know if y'all know that. What is it called? Not the Book of Atonement.
The Miracle of Forgiveness?
No.
The Book of Atonement.
Book of Atonement.
It's a small.
Is it?
He got me the small version.
The Infinite Atonement?
The Infinite Atonement. I think it's like the brown cover.
I don't know.
But
Keep going, I'll look at it.
He got me this little small version. Now, mind you, again, I don't like read. But you go bring this little small pocket book. I'm like, but this thing is too tiny for me to read. So of course I didn't. I started
Good
reading.
thing you got glasses.
I didn't have glasses then, so I really didn't try to read it. And then even on top of that, you know, I had a lot that I had to go through because I was smoking weed. And of course, being here in Arizona, I'm like, oh, it's legal? I had bongs, everything. Like, you know, I mean, I was having a blast. And I'm like, yeah, y'all definitely ain't gonna set me in church. So I had to tell them that. And I told them why I was doing it because, you know, of course, playing semi-pro football, you get older, you get injuries. So it was, you know, I made it as an excuse, even though it really shouldn't have been an excuse because the reality is I just like doing it. But that was just, they helped me out even more as an excuse. But I went through everything it was probably like 9 months. When they came back to me and said, you know, you're good, you've done everything, you can go back and partake of the sacrament, everything, your duties have been restored. I still was like, no, Bishop, I'm not ready yet. And I knew I wasn't ready. So I waited a little while longer. Throughout that whole process of me going through my repentance process, I started putting the Book of Mormon in my ears every day I would go to work because I used to, I was a detailer. And I'm still going through all of the drama with the biological mom. We on the phone, arguing. I'm showing up at work pissed because she's the one person that can set my day off. And I take it out on everybody, you know. And if you did something to me, my mentality was I was very vindictive. You was going to feel the wrath of Jevonne. You was going to either get cussed out or you was going to think that I was about to whoop your tail. So you was like, oh, let me, you know, I was just angry, still angry. But the Book of Mormon kind of helped calm me down. Even when I wasn't like into it, I would just put it on and just let it play. And so you talk about an 8-hour shift. For the first 4 hours before we went to lunch, I wouldn't talk. Nothing. Unless it was a question you had to ask me about a car or I had to ask, nothing. But then after lunchtime, I come in there like, hey, you know, it's feeling good. And I didn't realize that in that moment, that was just the spirit kind of like separating me from everything that I was feeling. You know, I didn't realize it then. I realize it now, but I didn't realize it then. So I started having all these little moments and stuff. And slowly but surely, I brought my wife into everything more. That when I showed up to talk to the biological mom, my wife was there with me. You weren't talking to me if my wife wasn't present. Everything I did, I showed up with my wife, and that's how we did it together. Which kind of, it was like we had a front, and we let them, you know, her know that you're not going to the manipulation. He's done. He's done.
Yeah,
He's letting you know he's with his wife. I don't want this no more. So at some point you got to let go. Ended up getting my second daughter. Had to take the DNA test, came back, she was mine. God was working, because when I was talking to my kid's biological mom, I remember asking her, or my other daughter, like, why do you have her at a gas station? And that's where you work. You know all the crazy things that can happen at a gas station, especially back home in Virginia? No, that's not a safe place. And somehow, some way, she broke down and told me in that moment, me and my wife, that she needed, because I told her, I was like, look, if you need me to take my child, just let me know. She didn't want to let go, because letting go my youngest daughter means that she would have had to let me go.
Yep.
She would have had to let me go,
Yep.
because she was using her to manipulate me to keep pulling me in. But she finally realized that she can't do for her. She will have a better life being over here with her dad. And I'm not going to sit there and not let you be a part of her life, but we're going to do it within reason, meaning that whatever my wife say, go. And it wasn't the things that we negotiated. It was like everything that we asked for and we prayed for, God gave it to us. I was like, Lord, I need her to relinquish her rights. I need for her to understand that this is going to be based on how we see things, because now we have to protect the kids. And if you're still on drugs and your whole family is still on drugs,
Not safe.
she's not safe. And he was working everything, because there were so many things going on with my youngest that I didn't know behind the scenes. She had, been burned very bad, that she was like taped, not taped, but like when you get severe 3rd-degree burns, you wrap
Bandaged up.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know any of this was happening to her. But somehow, some way, Heavenly Father allowed her heart to soften, to let go, to truly let go. And then, a little bit after that, I would say probably like a year later, after she came here, my wife ended up adopting both of them. This is why I say my wife is my hero.
That's amazing.
None of this.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
But going through infidelity and going through everything I went through in life, I'm not supposed to be here.
yeah.
I'm not, I look at things and
This is we talked about like 10 years ago, somebody told you that you were going to be sitting in my living room.
right.
I wouldn't have believed it. No. 10 years ago, I probably would believe I'd be out in the streets hustling or dead or locked up.
Yeah.
That was
Well,
it.
Jevonne, we're going to wrap up this
And that's the
episode.
short version, because it could be very
You can't wrap it up till I ask the question.
You said you need to know the question.
I know the question.
Oh, well, ask the question, and that will be the wrap up. Ask the question, wrap it up.
So see what I'm dealing with?
This whole time, he's like, I'm not going to ask the question.
I was just waiting for the right time.
Yeah.
So what I've noticed about you, getting to know you, is I like, Cortland likes to refer to you as the hype man. But it's the joy of the gospel.
Yeah.
It's the joy of, understanding who you are. It's the joy of living a Christ-centered life that I see and sense in you. So my question was, was there always that in you and it was just kind of repressed? Or is this something that's new? Is it like you found yourself and so now you can really express this joy?
I think there were flashes of joy, but I didn't understand. And it wasn't the type of joy that I have now. I think then it was just the joy of living in the moment with whatever I thought was good. So that was that type of joy.
Yeah, and that's not joy. I mean, you could talk about the difference between joy and fun, but in the moment,
but in the moment
like
for
joy.
me, it felt like joy, But the truest joy that I do know now is being free. I worked through all my problems. I worked it out with my wife. I don't have to look over my shoulder and wonder who coming to knock on the door and say, oh, Jevonne slept with this girl, or he got this person pregnant, or a family member saying you ain't gonna be nothing. I broke I felt like there was a curse in my family, and I broke the curse. I am the first branch to break away from everything.
I love how you put that.
Yeah.
I'm free.
Change the trajectory of my family last name.
But you're
and I'm free.
And you're free.
Yeah.
And you're free. I think sometimes people look at the gospel, commandments, rules, things we live as restrictive, and it sets you free.
Yeah.
That's
the other thing I understood. Another reason why I was like, I didn't want to really like follow God's rules or read the scriptures of it, because I felt like it was too hard. Like I can't. That's again when we talked about that perception of trying to feel like you need to live up to this person's expectations, and you don't. And so
that next step,
right. But it makes it. What makes my joy so thrive so much is because I truly don't care what people think. I ain't care what they thought then.
I love that.
It's that I express myself more, but now I have the privilege of not caring, but also feeling like I don't need to define who I am to you. I don't need to prove it to you. Whereas before, I didn't care, but I was going to let you know I didn't care. Now it's like, I truly don't care, but I'm happy. And if you know what I've gone through, my struggles and, my demons and my trials and tribulations, I'm just looking at life like, there's no way I'm ever going fly. Yeah, fly. There's no way I'm ever going back to that life. I am completely free. Now it's just other things that I need to do, but everything I do is a goal and me changing the trajectory. But I have so much faith in God that I don't think about the next thought. I ask him, I tell him what I need, and I know one day it will happen. It may not happen in the way that I may see it or how I want it to go, but I believe it's going to happen. And thus far for me, everything that I've thought or said or talked about when it came to God, he is presenting in my life for me to reap all the blessings and the miracles. And I'm just living in it and I'm happy. And I feel like it's a mission where I have to tell others, no matter what you go through, you can get through anything. I know we always hear about athletes and saying, oh, you can get through this. I made it such and such. I want to be real with you. Yes, they are absolutely right. But we all have a past. And even though you may not see how they had to crawl before they, learn how to walk, they still had to crawl. And it was a struggle. And that's how it is with me. And so I'm enthusiastic about life because the only drama I have to worry about is my autistic kids. That's it. That's it. And maybe, money here and there because my wife is the only one working in the household. But that's the sacrifice we made. And we asked Heavenly Father before we made the decision. And he's provided, and the level of love and the support of everybody that I'm getting from everybody, whether they know me or not, is just something I never could have ever imagined. I got other men who, even if they don't work with me, they've commented on our TikToks and saying, I ain't there to be able to step out and talk about it, but you are inspiring me to kind of start changing certain things. Yeah, again, I'm here to just plant the seed. That's it. If I can plant a seed in your life, whether you do it now or years from now, at some point you will remember. Remember what Jevonne told me? Let me do this. I got old co-workers who hit me up now and like, man, I remember when you said such and such. So now when certain things happen, I think about what you said. And I'm like, really? And I'm still kind of like stepping into this role where I'm actually talking to people and feeling like what I say means something or matters. Whereas for the longest time, I didn't, I wasn't a people person. I didn't want to
value wisdom.
Yeah. It's like, and so now I'm still trying to figure out who I am, even though I'm happy and joyful. I know Heavenly Father has a mission for me. And it may not be the mission of like the mission, like in the church, but my mission is different. And it's something that I actually asked for, you know. I'm like, yo, Lord, I need you to show me what my purpose is, what you need me to do.
Yeah.
And so now, like, I'm here with you guys. I'm talking to you guys. I'm engaging with you guys. I got other men who are actually reaching out to me on TikTok, calling me, you know, wanting to do things with me. And I'm like, this is blowing my mind, all because of me telling my story, you know.
Well, and we can wrap up after this unless you want to add more, but it's not just you telling a story. I want you to know that's what I see isn't just a story. It's the light that you bring, but also the joy that you are portraying that the gospel brings. The way you said, I'm free, like that is real. That is what the gospel and the joy of the gospel is supposed to bring.
Yeah.
Is that feeling of freedom. It's not a gospel that where we have to feel like we're walking through drudgery all the time, that things are hard all the time. It's a gospel of joy.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean life is easy.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean life will automatically be easy, like we were talking about before, the prosperity gospel.
Yeah.
But with the perspective of the gospel, of the atonement, of the Savior, it sets us free. And I think that's what people connect more than even your story is that you portray this. I'm free.
Yeah.
And the gospel has set me free.
Yeah. And I feel like that, you know, and it's crazy because little note that people don't know is that I just started reading the Book of Mormon. Been in church for 18 years.
Yeah, but you listened to it.
I know, I heard it. I wouldn't listen. Let's keep it real. I heard it, but I won't listen it. But like, I'm really reading the Book of Mormon now, and I cannot believe it. Like, you know, I'm just sitting here and I'm listening. I'm looking at the stories in between reading the Book of Mormon, but also I also started before I started reading the Book of Mormon, I started reading, you know, the Bible, which I've never done. These are two things I'm doing at the same time, and I'm learning all these stories. And now when I'm looking at life, I'm like, well, dang, Lord, all this stuff was happening. This happening now happened then. It was just different.
Yeah.
Because times have changed and we have more. I'm like, but good God. And I'm looking at some of these things like, you know, when they talk about certain things with women, I'm like, whoa. Like, you know, and I don't want to like, because I know people get sensitive, so I ain't gonna say certain things, but it just blows my mind. And so I find myself like my wife, like, yo, they was wilding out back then. Like, what the heck? Like, bro, they was like,
Hey, Layman and let me on that boat, bro.
yeah, I'm like, yo, they is bugging. Like, ain't no, I'm like, ain't no way. And so, but I also see this happening to me as I'm reading. It's almost like I'm there. This never has happened to me. When I pick up the Book of Mormon or read, you know, the Bible, I almost can place myself like, we're here now. I don't know how I do that because as soon as I stop, it's gone. You know, and this guy told me something. I can't remember what he said, but you know, I think my wife remembered, but he just said, he said that if that's happening to you, he was like, brother, something special about you. I'm like, you know, but again, I'm that type of guy. Like, you know, people can try to put me on a pedestal, but no, I'm just a guy, you know, I'm just real. And so me being free now just allows me to just be like, I'm living for me and God. And even if I didn't ever pick up the Bible or the Book of Mormon, I know how real God is because of what he has taken me through. And the crazy part is I've gone through that for so many years. We talking about 4 years old till I'm 40 something. And within a period of, would it be 6 years, January 15th that we've been out here, he changed all of it rapidly. And I'm like, bro, like, why now? Why couldn't all that happen all them something years ago, you know, when I was in my 20s? But it's not for me to understand.
Yeah, not yet.
You know, at the right moment when God wants me to understand it, he will. But I love the clarity and the freedom that I have to sit here and when I talk about my story or when I think about my story, I see bits and pieces where God was dropping little things here and there to help me out that I didn't see before. And I've been angry with him for this whole time.
Yeah.
But it was little nuggets he was dropping where I realized the situation could have went worse. But I also see how God pulled me out of it. And I don't know if that's like, if you can understand that, but it's just certain situations that I knew it could have went left, way left. But then I look at a certain situation with it and I could see where God stepped in and was like, no, I'm not going to allow that to happen. It's almost like I could see 5 or 6 things that could have happened, but I see that one moment where he was like, I'm not letting that happen, and so it allows me to be so free, and I always want to be positive. So like now, because I've been in a negative state for so long, you can't come around me being negative. I ain't trying to hear that. Because again, to me, I feel like I've been to hell and back 20 times in my life. So to me, it's not, if you sit here and tell me you can't get through something, I'm not believing that. If I put my mind through it and pull myself out of it, and yes, it might be an exception because I have an amazing wife that, I know the Heavenly Father said to me, but either way, I had to do the work.
Yeah.
Even with her being there, I still had to do the work. I had to submit. I had to say, Lord, I need you. I had to start asking for help. And that's when the real work begins, because you realize within yourself that you have to let go. You have to want it. Again, I can't force nobody to change. You got to choose to change. And I made the choice to want to change. And that makes it so real for me when I talk to other men who are going through infidelity. And I'm letting them know, bruh, don't try to sit here and side hustle me with that lie. I mastered that game. You talking about, I'm talking about 9 years in my marriage. 9 years. 9 freaking years. And it wasn't a bunch of multiple women. It was like 2 or 3 women that one was with for 9 years. Then there's the other 2 came on at like the last 4 years of those 9. But you talking about a guy who conned, manipulated, lied, however, schemed, and guys thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread, and it really wasn't. But don't sit here and try to tell me that I can't read between your BS, because I see it. I was that guy. And so that's how it makes it that much easier for me to break it down to men. And believe it or not, I got some men who like, no, I'm not ready. And I'd rather you tell me that. Because we don't need to sit here and waste each other time and for you to lie.
Yeah.
Because I can read through your lie. I was there.
And it's true.
Yeah,
You're ready.
you're not ready, and it's okay. And that makes them feel like, oh, dang, I can talk to Jevonne. But then there's a lot of men I have helped who like, dude, I ain't never met nobody real like you. Because I can relate. No, I'm not a licensed therapist. No, I don't have no type of psychology degree. But I know what real life feel like.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, if you've gone through the adultery phase, there's a lot of similarities. A lot of similarities that I can understand. When a guy tells me a story about something, I'm like, oh, bro, shoot. I can tell you something to relate to that real quick. Because I know. But I also know the pain. I know what they're feeling. I know a lot of times that it's not intentional. There's something that's broken in them that pulls them in that direction. But instead of them having the confidence to say no, they give into it. Because they feel like that's the best choice for them. When the reality is there's so much more better. And you can say no. It's not, if you say no, I don't want to do this, nobody's going to, people might get mad, but so what?
Yeah.
You're trying to better yourself, so man, I'm just free.
There we go.
So I'm just, man, when I say I'm blessed and happy, like no one can steal my joy. I'm serious. You cannot. And I ain't saying that every day I wake up peaches,
No,
pieces of
life
cake,
is still life.
but
Pizzas and
again,
cream.
my only problem is dealing with my autistic girls. And because that's an everyday occurrence of I don't know how they're going to be.
Yeah.
My relationship
Every day is different.
with my wife is beautiful. I've never been so in love. I never knew what love was until I met this woman.
Yeah. Well, Jevonne, thank you for opening your heart, brother.
Yeah, man.
Go ahead and send us out.
Again, signing off, Forge and Anchor. Make sure y'all go ahead and subscribe, like. Don't know dislikes because we ain't dealing with that. But let us know if you have any questions or any subjects or topics that you want to hear us talk about, and we'll tap into it. But we hope you enjoy the show. All right. Deuces.
We hope that you enjoyed that podcast. We hope you enjoyed the episode. As Jevonne closed us out there, he does it with passion. He does it with excitement. We hope that you will like, subscribe, comment, engage with us, so that way we can have genuine conversations about the things that matter, what stood out in the podcast and our episodes. These are all unscripted. They're raw. They're genuine, and we hope that as you participate, that you'll be able to have that same approach. We invite you to join us in our free community where we are connecting LDS men in one space to be able to have these conversations, to be able to talk, to be able to connect. And you can find us on School. So if you go to school.com, SKOOL.com/the LDS Man's Heart, you'll be able to join, submit your questions, and then come participate with us in that community. Again, we're so thankful that you're here with us, that you participated, that you heard us, that you listened to us. We hope that we can engage in the future. This is The LDS Man's Heart by Forge and Anchored.